Hey guys, Merry Christmas. Joe Perea here, and we're gonna make some red chili today. All right, here's our ingredients. We got a white onion, we got some garlic, we got some flour, a little bit of pepper, some olive oil, EVO, key ingredient, caldo de pollo, and I'm gonna be using some leftover pork chops that I gotta use, but you can use anything for this, pork shoulder, any kind of pork product. Some people, in fact, my dad and a lot of other people actually like to use hamburger too, which is perfectly fine. Gives a good depth of flavor. If you want your chili meatless, just don't use meat. All the other steps are the same. And then most importantly, your red chili. This is from Chavez Farms. This is a beautiful red. It's very spicy, very hot. And you can also get great chili from Sickler Farms and any southern New Mexico farm. So let's get started here. Okay, our first step is to deal with the chili pods. So all you want to do here is crack the stem off, shake out the seeds, and put it in a pot. Let's keep doing this till you get all your chili done. How much chili to do? Well, that's entirely up to you. I like to do a lot so that I can blend some, freeze some, and use it in the future. But just get that done. One thing I wanted to mention real quick, guys, as you're going through and breaking off your chili, just double check for mold. You can see there's a little bit of mold on this one. Chili's perfectly fine. Just make sure you break that piece off and throw it away. You don't want that mold. It gives it a bad taste. Okay, once you got your chili all cleaned up, go ahead and fill this pot up with water. Chili's gonna want to float a little bit, but that's okay. Okay, you got your chili in the pot, you got your water in the pot. Some people like to just leave it like this and let it reconstitute on its own. It can take, sometimes up to an hour to 2 hours to get it fully reconstituted. I personally like to turn this on and bring it to a boil. And so I got 2 pots of chili because I'm going to do a lot today. So we'll prep everything else while this stuff is coming to a boil. Okay, while your chili's coming up to a boil, get everything else prepped here. Got my pork all cubed. Got my garlic cloves sliced. I like them sliced in this particular recipe. People ask how many cloves. I would say 3 or 4. For a regular size stew pot. And then on the onions, I like to mince these really fine. I use the old slap chop, and it gives you this really nice fine mince. And the reason is, for me, I don't like a big chunk of onions. So I would say try to mince the onions really tight. About half an onion for a regular stew size pot. I'm doing a whole onion here because I'm doing 2 pots. But yeah, there you go. So get that all prepped. Okay, this is looking great. Got my chili coming up to a boil. It's starting to reconstitute really nicely. I'm gonna let this go for just maybe 3 or 4 minutes, and which it's already been going. So I'm gonna go ahead and shut it off at this point. Once it comes to a boil, just go ahead and shut it off. And then what you're gonna wanna do is cover these. And we're just gonna let these sit for probably about 20, 30 minutes. And just essentially what we're trying to do is partially cook the chili. Remember, this chili is raw, so we actually want to partially cook it and get it ready for the blender. So hang tight. Hey puppy. Okay, so our chili's been soaking for about 20 minutes here. So what we're gonna do is carefully measure how much chili we throw in the blender. I'm kidding. Just kind of eyeball it. There we go. And then get a cup, get some of the water, and you just kind of have to guess here first couple times, but essentially after it's blended, you want the consistency of like a runny milkshake. So let's go ahead, and I usually like to let this blend for quite a long time. There we go. Okay, we're all blended up here. You can see that consistency, kind of a runny milkshake. This next step is pretty important if you have a heartburn condition. And so essentially what you want to do is go ahead and pour that into a strainer. And the reason is you got all the seeds and skins that are kind of wrapped up in there. And the next step is I usually just take one of these. You could also use a spoon if you want to. But just sit here and kind of push it through. And just be patient. Turn on some good music. Open a beer, think about your life choices. But it just takes a couple minutes, and then eventually you get it all through. Okay, so eventually you'll get down to something that looks like this, which is kind of a pulp. And if you have heartburn condition, man, that gives you the worst heartburn ever. So I usually just throw that in the trash. So once you've done that, just continue blending chili in the blender, blend for around a couple minutes, and then strain, and just repeat the process until you got all your chili strained. Okay, so we've finished straining all our chili, and essentially what we've got here is our partially cooked, raw, strained chili Caribe. So this is essentially what you would get at the store if you bought it frozen. But if you do that, then it's really not that authentic, you know. But anyway, save this water left over from the chili. You're gonna need a little bit of it. There's also some old wives' tales about it having healing powers if you drink it as a tea. Add a little bit of salt, a little bit of honey. I don't know about all that. The other thing I wanted to mention is sometimes when people are actually doing the blending, they like to put the salt and the garlic in with the chili, you know, and that's entirely up to you. I like to leave it raw. I like to freeze some of it like this for future chili makings. But you know, all I got to say about that is you do you. You do you. All right, we're gonna start cooking now. So just throw a little bit of olive oil in the bottom pan. That looks about right. I'm gonna try to do this all in one pan. Hopefully that's not a bad decision, but just go ahead and throw all your garlic and onion in. And we're essentially gonna cook this stuff till it's clear. All right, onions are starting to look translucent here. So what we're gonna do is go ahead and dump our meat in there. Again, if you're not using meat, just skip this step altogether. After we dump the meat in, let's go ahead and dump the pepper in. Yeah, it's kind of up to you how much you want. I like to put till I can smell it. There we go, I smell it now. All right, and you just kind of want to brown the pork here, or whatever you're using, hamburger meat. Don't want to cook it all the way through. All right. Okay, so for this next step, you need your flour, your caldo de pollo, and some of your red chili water that we saved. Stuff is looking like it's browned up pretty good. So what we're gonna do is maybe start with that much flour. And what we're doing here is we're gonna try to make a roux. You can put a little bit more. Spread it out thin there. And what we want to do is go ahead and let this cook off a little bit, get rid of any flour flavor. And it's going to start getting clumpy a little bit here, and that's good. That's what we want. I'll put just a little bit more flour. You don't want to put too much in here. Probably the less flour the better, but this is going to be a big pot. You probably normally wouldn't put that much. Probably normally just a tablespoon or so. And we're starting to clump up here, so that's good. Just let that flour cook off. Gets rid of the flour taste. Then we're going to take our chili water, pour a little bit in there. Mix it up. We're essentially looking for like a kind of a gravy thing, if you will. A little more water. So this is looking pretty good. Maybe a little more water here. There we go, that looks about right. So we're looking for like a creamy kind of a gravy thing. At this point, you want to go ahead and start putting in your caldo de pollo. And you want to put in I don't know, that much. But you want this a little bit more on the salty side. You got to remember your chili is unseasoned, so when you put it in, you want this salty, so when you put it in, put the chili in, it will balance out. I'm gonna put a little bit more. And we're gonna have an opportunity to season a little bit later too, so it doesn't need to be perfect. A little bit more water in here. This is going to be a big pot. You know, you probably normally wouldn't make this much unless you're doing a big dinner or something, but that looks just about right where we want to be, right there. So my next step is going to pour the chili in here right now, but I'm going to do that off camera so I don't spill it everywhere. All right, hold tight. Okay, so I just went ahead and poured the chili in. Now we go ahead and mix this all together. And we are well on our way here to having a really nice red chili. It smells like Christmas in here. So just get this all mixed together. And what we're going to want to do at this point is slowly, and I mean slowly, bring this up to a boil. And then as soon as it gets to a boil, we're going to turn it way down to simmer. So we'll let that happen, and then just stay tuned. Okay guys, we're just starting to come up on a boil, and you don't want this on a rolling boil because it'll start sticking to the bottom of the pan and stuff. But right here is about where you want to go ahead and turn this thing way low. I'm going to put it all the way down on simmer. And what I've got here is I've got my caldo de pollo, I've got some salt, and I've got my chili water. And so it's kind of a little babysitting thing over the next 2 to 3 hours. You just want to keep stirring this. I'm going to cover it. And if it happens to thicken up a little bit, pour a little bit of water in there to thin it out. Give it a little taste. If you need to put a pinch of caldo in there, you can do that. Or if you need to put a little bit of salt, and just kind of really low and slow, and you just want to babysit this thing and just let it cook. But essentially the hard part is over. We are on the downhill right now. So that's what I'm going to do for the next couple hours. Have a couple drinks, sit and relax, and just slowly taste it and season it. I may not need any seasonings, I might not, so we'll see what happens. But let's go ahead and do that, and I'll check in with you here in a couple hours. All right, fam. Well, it's been a couple hours of seasoning and tasting and simmering, and I gotta say, this tastes absolutely beautiful. Very authentic New Mexico taste. Just a beautiful red chili. You can use this for anything. Put it on your tacos, put it on your burritos, put it on your mashed potatoes. Pretty much any side, or you can just eat it straight up with the tortilla. But I always like to whip up a little nacho pie when I make a pot of red. So just a few chips, a little bit of red chili con queso. Thanks for watching, guys.